All right. This is matters arising in Nigerian politics, where we discuss a lot of topics that is really rolling within the country. You know, we are moving in from rivers across to Abuja and Osun. You know, anywhere we can find something that is really touching our politics. Hello, guys.
Good afternoon.
Teargas is flowing like water. You know, let's put this thing in perspective.
Yes.
How do you judge if there is peace or not? Before emergency rule, there was no record that there was tear gas in Rivers State. Before emergency rule. You know, I was telling you the other day that it's okay to take action.
Yes.
It's also preventive to think of reaction.
Yes.
What is happening? I mean, we can take the whole 3 hours to discuss emergency in Rivers State. The people have found their voice. Are they going about it peacefully?
First of all, let's look at the right to protest.
Yes.
That's what we should look at.
Yes.
In every democracy, there's the right to protest. Yesterday, we saw the whole of the city of America protesting that they don't want Elon Musk in their country anymore, that they should revoke his citizenship because it's causing...
And send it back to
South Africa. So the people came out, and the right to protest is what they have. And they went on the streets protesting and say, this is what we want. Now, what the police needs to do is to guide them to make sure that there's no violence. Not for them to say, you cannot protest. The moment you say you cannot protest, that means there's violence smelling already. Now, if I am protesting for what I believe is a constitutional right to do, the other person don't need to protest the other day because every other person also have the right to protest on another day. Now, this is what is happening in the polity. Do you understand? Now, they are the Take It Back movement are the one organizing this protest. That there is illegal occupation of power in Rivers State, and it should be reversed. They have the right to do it.
Okay, Peter, I will still come back to you on about the legality and legality of that. The people claim to have duly informed the police of their intention. I mean, I don't know. We unofficially have seen the news. I think last week we talked about it, that people want to protest in Rivers State. You know, they want to protest their dissatisfaction about the emergency rule in Rivers State. They claim to have informed the police. Why are we having tear gas and all that?
It's a common thing in Nigeria. We always do our own thing differently. Well, we are glued on TV watching what's happening in the US. Police were there. They were there guiding the protesters. They were not there to disrupt the protests. And as I said, I saw the news. I saw the date. Date was fixed before now. So police was aware. Every other person was aware that these people were going to come out to protest. And they planned for it to be peacefully. So the tear gassing of these people is what I don't understand. Do they have the right to protest? Constitutionally, yes, they do. Is it violent? As a last count, as my report I got from Peter Court, it wasn't. So why intimidate them? Why stopping them from doing what is right? What is their constitutional right?
You also have to understand that the police, not necessarily in support of use of tear gas, they have to be proactive in some form. You know, oftentimes we want to have it both ways. We want to blame police for not being proactive. And when their proactiveness is also not comfortable, we complain. Could it be that the police was smelling like some kind of infiltration or violence, or they just really don't want them to protest?
So the kind of police we have in Nigeria is trigger excitement. They are excited to please some powers that be. Honestly, this protest is against government, as it's seen. So whoever that is in charge
the action of government,
whoever is in charge of police in that region wants to be seen as protecting the paymaster. I'm not saying anything wrong. So what we should be talking about, what causes protest? Why this protest? Why this protest? See, if you don't forget, this is the second largest economy in the country.
Yeah.
And this state is dying. The economy of the state is dying. And somebody is sitting there spending the resources of the state without appropriation.
Okay. I'll get to that somewhere along the line. We were talking about people saying this reverse emergency is not legal. It's not a lawful exercise. I mean, people have their right to say that, okay? But could the people, rather than resort to protest, which is their right, in this case, would it have been more admissible for them to approach the court and wait for the outcome?
Well, I think some people have already approached the court already.
Yeah.
While the court is still being approached,
some other people
choose to go on the street.
Protest, yeah.
Now, for example, we talked about it. Let's use the democracy to which we are looking after.
Yeah.
One of it is America.
Yeah.
We said the Second Amendment is that you have a right to have a gun. Do you understand? And it's enshrined in our constitution that you have a right to protest peacefully. Now, until the protest is turning violent. Now, from what we have seen from this government is that the right to protest is being taken out from everybody. And we've already said, you have always called Mr. President a Democrat. Yeah. That's what you've known him to be. Yeah. Now, he has always supported protest. During the...
Himself is the leader of protest.
Stay-at-home protest. He led from the front.
During during subsidy removal. Which himself eventually removed from day one. And Jonathan didn't remove it from day one. So he led the protest in freedom
from the front.
Yes.
I mean, they
bringing food and cooking food, and they brought.
They occupied the Kudirat, the Freedom Square in Lagos for days, and they had speeches.
Yes.
Nobody.
No.
In fact, they occupied the streets.
Okay, maybe he's not tagging me that I kept saying that Asiwaju was a Democrat or is a Democrat. You are not going to blame me because I was there when he really stood against the military. He was interested in democracy, coming to take his position in Nigeria. He was actually on exile for the purpose of democracy. He was a NADECO member and all the likes. And he was a senator then that was not even allowed to function. Yes. So he suffered for democracy. If I say he's a Democrat, you are not going to blame me so much.
He even by himself told us that he stood up to General Babangida.
That's right. So he said he stood up to General Babangida. So are you looking up to a protest where Asiwaju will say, allow them to protest to show he's a Democrat? Whether he ends up listening to the voices of the protest or not is entirely different matter. Because what you see as a leader may not be what you see as a follower.
No, I don't see him allow it happen because he knows the power of protest. He knows it can snowball into a bigger thing. See, when people are not happy about your governance or about you.
Who told you he thinks people are not happy? He said the results of his policies are beginning to show up.
The temperature out there is there for everybody to see. It is out there for everybody. If your government is actually doing well, why would you have correlations?
But I think they believe they are doing well. Just last week, he said his policies are beginning to yield fruit.
I said one time, it's the best way you're seeing. Maybe from where he's sitting, he feels that he's doing well. But let's change the percentage. It's not you. So most times, what they do that they believe in sacrifice. If they actually believe in people, let people tell them what is happening. These ministers, these food soldiers, there should be a way of feedback.
Okay, we are going to be coming back to these reverse issues as more reports trickle in. So let's move a little bit to Osun State. Osun APC, they're actually wanting PDP takeover of take secretariat, that they are not going to allow that. I mean, that it shouldn't happen, of the local government secretariats.
Well, we already knew what has been happening in Osun State.
Because they do not believe the election.
They first of all feel that the APC local government elected chairman, their tenure hasn't expired.
Exactly.
And as a result of that, there's no need to have done election in February. And now they feel that the governor is going to go to court and get a particular judgment they describe, can't remember now, to allow his own PDP elected officials come into the local government. And they said that if this is done, there's going to be anarchy in the state. And that's what I mean.
Why? We're taking it from you. I will get back to you.
Now the major reason for that is that elections are coming in Osun State.
Yes.
Now, they want to be able to hold the grassroots, both parties. Don't forget, Oyetola was ousted by Adeleke. And Oyetola wants to come back. And don't also forget that Oyetola is a cousin. Is he a cousin or a nephew to the present government? Now, before the before the present state of emergency in Rivers, they were already calling for a state of emergency.
Okay, let me pick it from your mouth. Whatever you had for Osun local government election and all that, but do you think this crisis, if APC people decides to be physical about it, probably trying to prevent the PDP people from taking over the secretariat, do you think that could be an opportunity for another another emergency rule?
It's playing that as well. I think they're headed. But the truth is that I'm not blaming the governor. There was a court judgment that removed the local government chairman and councillor. They did not go to seek to set aside that judgment.
Now,
before he went ahead and conducted his own election,
they didn't appeal the judgment.
They had at least at some time has not been set aside that judgment. So they're trying to stop this people from coming in. This thing here, the river is just the beginning.
Yeah.
They tried the rivers, and he has walked. They're not going to stop there. They're not going to stop there.
But Rivers walking now. We saw Teargas. We were just a while ago discussing about Teargas. That doesn't appear to be something that has really worked, because there was no Teargas in Rivers even before the emergency rule.
Exactly.
Now, after the emergency rule, there is Teargas flowing everywhere, and that's not how democracy. That's not the working of democracy. So it hasn't worked. I mean, if there is a lesson from Rivers, they should actually not do it in Osun, because it hasn't really worked in Rivers.
No, they'll take another approach, but it's not going to happen in Osun most likely. That's why Adeleke is trading softly. That's why he's not forceful in putting people into office. They've done elections since February. So when they're not in office, because he's trading softly, he has seen what's transpiring in River State, and he knows that they are ready to repeat same here.
Do you think emergency rule is not going to be done? No. I think it's going to be too much.
I think it will be a pie that they cannot chew.
Yeah, it's going to be
the bites they will take.
I personally believe it's going to be too much.
Number one, the criticism that has come with this particular one, I think is a call to anarchy if they have an emergency rule.
And another way, no matter how smart Asiwaju might be, you are letting your territory out to the military. No matter how you look at it, even though the administrator in Rivers is a retired, maybe they were smart by picking a retired military.
Why didn't they pick another administrator? Must it be a military man?
Must it be a military man?
It doesn't have to be a military man.
Administrator
exactly.
Or something.
Do you understand? Yeah. And 6 months was too much. Do you understand? If you even say 3 months, maybe people would have been able to
call them to
order and say that
there is anything like that.
Do you understand?
I still do not feel there was need for that emergency in any
but I don't think in any way they would try it in.
Okay, let's move a little bit. Edo Tribunal was just a few days ago. Of course, as expected, they said the majority will have their way, and the minority will have their say.
Yes.
And the PDP people, they are slamming the PDP. That's the Ighodalo's side, and not himself, but the party behind him, are actually slamming the tribunal. Labels the ruling a travesty of justice. We were the other day trying to analyze the ruling and all that. I mean, we tried to not preempt the court. We waited for the judgment to come out. In that judgment, one of the things the judges, that's what Wilfred Bochi led the panel, talked about was that the beavers were dumped on them without the petitioner showing how that beavers was used to compromise the result of the election, and they suffered any damage. They were not able to show the court. Okay, it is not sufficient to pack evidences and bump it. You have to show how those things was used against you. Okay, that never happened. A lot of other gaps that that wasn't closed according to the judgment. The slamming, yes. it's always that it's not a Supreme Court judgment, so they have right to slam. But I think they appeal. They said it was certainly they are certainly going to go with that.
If I were the PDP,
yes,
they have a window.
Yes,
right,
yes.
A window to appeal.
That's right.
Now, what they should do is to go back to the tribunal, faulted their evidences, and go work on it. And not talk right now is not what they should be doing.
I wouldn't say stop, but they've studied the certified true copy. After studying it, remember earlier, PDP as a party didn't say anything. Nationwide, it's from states we're hearing. But after studying this judgment, they come out to say, this is as bad as worse as it could get. It's a miscarriage of justice. So they presented body of evidence to the tribunal, which they ignore. So that's a fact. I will look forward to this. I want to read it to see where they're coming from. They are convinced that the tribunal played as if the fourth respondent in the case.
No. You see, not in defense of the court. Okay, I believe, like Kingsley, like you have said, there are grounds of appeal.
Yes.
Of course, they're going to appeal.
They should take that opportunity.
They should take that opportunity rather than go on the verbal. Because if you are so busy with the media slamming and unslamming, you will leave the real work to be done.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to ask them, yes, I wanted to get any of them to the studio and ask them a question. What you let panels say you people dump beavers on them? Did you dump beavers? Did you attempt to show how these beavers were used in rigging the election?
Yes.
Because you have to show it. The court is not there to defend you. The court is to assume that
take evidence from here and make their judgment. You see,
right.
I should have thought that someone like Aso Ighodalo, who is a seasoned lawyer, right, should have known better on what to do. You see, most of the time we play politics with everything, and the right to talk, everybody's just talking. Go and do what they say you do, and bring out the evidence that these beavers still contain, because according to them, they still contain the results that were uploaded, right, by these beavers. I don't know if you understand.
Did they show that to the court?
Well, that's what the court said they didn't show. So they should go ahead and go and do it.
But unfortunately, they lack the opportunity anymore to do it at the appeal. They could only show that they were prevented from showing it. If the court, like you said, they became the fourth respondent, which we're yet to see it. You know, they lack the opportunity to do it anymore. The only thing you might get on the appeal is probably to show that the tribunal didn't do their job well.
But PDP did what she should do. They should put out a statement, and which they've done. They felt cheated. They felt the tribunal didn't do their work. So I don't have anything against them.
Okay. Let's touch on something that's probably because of his personality. You know, people are interested in it. In an invitation to Emir Sanusi, and I think they said it's been withdrawn.
Yeah.
You know,
not totally.
Not totally.
It's been withdrawn that the Kano State Police Command can handle it. They should send a police there to take his evidence within the state.
How did we get here? This is an emirate that's well respected in this country, Kano Emirate. Why are we destroying our traditional institutions? Why must we play politics with everything? It was Danduje, it was him and the then emir, now the emir, the Sanusi. They didn't agree on certain things. They just stood up. He represents a stool. He represents a people. He felt that the line you are towing is wrong. He made some statements. That was it. Next thing you broke Emirate into 4. You have destroyed that Emirate. At the end of the day, after his time was due, the next person came in and restored him. But they've destroyed that Emirate because of politics. See, we must not agree on everything.
Certainly. So
because we don't agree on everything, that means we should bring that this house. This house was standing before we came on board.
Sometimes I ask us, this the winner takes all mentality that we exhibit in our political environment. Do we think, are we too young to realize that at the end of the day, nobody's going to leave this earth with anything? If there's anything we are leaving behind, it's going to be our legacy. You can't get it all. The democracy actually is a semblance of a situation where you cannot get it all. How about our political leaders start looking at all these things? And the position of our traditional institution, how do we perfectly integrate it into our system such that they cannot be under the command and control of the elected officials?
Okay, so first of all, we back off and look at how the coexistence of Nigeria came into being and see how the British ruled Nigeria. And largely, we have not really strayed away from the institutions that the British put on ground. Forget the fact that we are not doing unwritten constitution. We tended towards the America side of the game. The British came and did what they call an indirect rule system because of the structure they found in the north. Now, in the colonies, what French did was a direct rule.